Hello, friends. I come in front of you to bring to your kind notice some of the facts that every Indian ought to know on the day of this independence. This is the Quits India Act 1784. How did India come under British rule? Originally many other European companies were coming and setting up shops in India to conduct business with the Indian public, and so did the East India Company set up their shops. Initially, all the western coast is occupied by the Portuguese and the Dutch, and therefore the British East India Company came to east coast and approached the King of Nellore, Mr. Madiraju, to grant them a piece of land and to allow them to conduct business in the south of India. He granted. That is where they constructed a fort near the coast of Bengal, which is now presently called as Chennai, which was actually they called it the place of Madiraju or Madiraju's place, and that became Madras, and Madras became Chennai. And they were conducting business, and Lord Clive was the branch manager at Madras, and there was somebody else at Calcutta where Surajuddaula gave permission to conduct business. Surajuddaula worked up a lot of debt with the East India Company, and when the East India Company representatives put pressure on Surajuddaula to pay up, he took the step of dumping all the whites in the Calcutta branch into a grain silo of 9 by 10 size from the top and closed the door. And by the next day, there were about 140 to 50 people in that place, and all the 140 50 people were dumped in the 9 by 10 silo. And by the next day morning, only 7 8 people survived. The remaining all died, and they were released, and with a warning not to stay in the Bengal. So they set out on to reach the Madras to join up with Clive. And you can refer to this episode on the internet by typing the phrase Black Hole of Calcutta. It has become very famous as the Black Hole of Calcutta, and you can read about it in the internet. You don't have to take my word for it. They reached Madras and told Clive about this, and then Clive contemplated about the situation and decided to mount an expedition on the Nawab Sirajuddaulah, because he said if we don't punish him, we will not be able to collect any money from any of the kings. They will all resort to this, and all the European companies, they all supported him. French and Dutch also gave some their support. He raised an army of about 2,000 people. Out of the 2,000 people, 1,500 were Indians, and about 500 were Europeans or whites. Most of them were British, and some were French, and some were Dutch. All these people mounted an expedition on Palashi. While it is written as Plassey in books, it is actually Palashi. Bengalis call it as Palashi. That is the capital city of Surajuddaula. And he mounted the expedition, and the battle lasted just 4 hours or half a day. The Sirajuddaula had an army of 30,000 people, but when the British army started firing rifles, they simply dropped their weapons and ran away. And Clive took over the fort, and he made his nephew, Sirajuddaula's nephew, Mir Jafar as the Nawab. After some time, Mir Jafar also failed to pay up. Then Clive replaced him with Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim also failed, and he sold the Bengal to East India Company. East India Company bought it, gave some money to Mir Qasim, and took over, and they started efficient rule with Warren Hastings and then General Cornwallis. That is a different story. And then after the Clive has been ruling it, the East India Company filed a case on him in the London, saying that he has stolen the money of East India Company, which he has collected from Sirajuddaula. Clive said, I won the war, and they took me into the treasury to asking me to take anything. I was walking in a big door. On both sides there was a lot of jewelry. I took only little. I could have taken everything. And then the case went on for a long time. He was stripped, he was fined, and all his money was taken off. And Clive died a sad, miserable death. That's another story. And then after that Clive's case, the British Parliament passed an act. Why British Parliament is involved? Because the Queen is a shareholder in East India Company. The Prime Minister was a shareholder in the East India Company. So they have passed a law to bring some order to the rule of India, that the East India Company could not run it as a commercial operation, and they constructed a board, and this arrangement went through many changes, and that act continued till 1857, when the Sepoy Mutiny took place. With the Sepoy Mutiny and all the other kings rebelling, the East India Company put down the rebellion and brought back order. Then the British Parliament said, we will have to take over the nationalize the East India Company. It's too big a thing to be ruled by a company. We have to rule it. And they also felt that the lords are making too much money out of it, and that some of it should come to the British Treasury and should be used for British citizenry. That's how they passed this act. Now I will show you some picture. Do you know who this great man is? I'm sure most of you do not know. This man is the Lord Henry Temple. He was the Prime Minister in 1757 and 58, and he was the instrumental person in nationalizing East India Company and bringing British Crown to rule the Indian subcontinent. Henry Temple. And I'm not sure if you have seen this earlier, but this is the proclamation issued by the Queen Victoria, taking over the rule of India, but by the British Parliament, Empress. It has been amalgamated into the British Empire. This is the proclamation at that time. I have this. Anybody wants, I can send it. You can also find it in the internet. And at that time, more or less, this was the India. Oh, this was shown as Akhanda Bharat. But it's some of Sumatra, Bali, this Indonesia was part of Dutch Empire, but the rest is all British Empire. This is the British Empire at that time. They also took over Saudi Arabia, all Iran, Iraq, and all those Middle East was completely under their control. And the Yudhishthira's empire, though they showed this as this one, no, the Yudhishthira's empire was much larger. It comprised of Egypt to of the entire Europe until the end of the Danube River. That was his empire, including China. China was also under Yudhishthira's empire. That is a different thing. This was the British India. And do you know who this man is? But for him, India would never have gained independence. Can you guess? Okay, I'll show you. Dewey defeats Humphrey, the Chicago Tribune, Daily Tribune. I'm sure you must recognize. Dewey defeats Truman. Harry Truman, 1948 elections were so closely contested. Everybody predicted the victory of Dewey. And in the evening, night, because the deadline is passed, the editor of Chicago Tribune gave his permission to print the headline as Dewey defeats Humphrey and put the story and sent it for distribution. The counting went late into the night, and ultimately Truman won. So the next day, some reporter asked his comment on this headline, and human posed with that paper for all the newspapers. So Harry Truman was the president of United States at the end of the Second World War. He has accomplished so many things. I rate him as the greatest statesman of the entire world for all times, barring the avatars. I think he is the great man. I made a separate video on all his accomplishments. Israel was created by him. NATO was created by him. All the world was liberated by him, and United Nations was created by him. His accomplishments cannot be underrated. He's a great man. He has put pressure on the European colonial powers. You wanted liberty from Germany. Now, how can you keep the Asia and Africa under your yoke? Liberate them. Because of his pressure, he put the pressure especially on the Britain, saying that you liberate India. That is your biggest, largest, most prosperous colony. Liberate it. Give it independence. Make it an example. And that is how, yeah, and we are celebrating for all the last 70 and odd years without thinking of Harry Truman, without thanking him. In my humble opinion, we are committing sin by not thanking him. We are breaking coconuts to Gandhi, Nehru, all those people. Yet this is the man for whom we should break coconuts, in my humble opinion. And can you recognize this gentleman? This is a great person. He believed truly in independence and liberty for all. He is Lord Clement Attlee. He was the prime minister who took over from Winston Churchill in 1945, and he believed wholeheartedly the doctrine of Truman that independence to everyone. And he said from the day one, I am giving independence to India. And in 1945, he started immediately taking over the prime ministership of England. He started arrangements for liberating India. In 1946, he conducted elections and created a parliament and created a government, shadow government with Nehru as the prime minister. Of course, Sardar Patel won as the prime minister, but Gandhi has forced Mahatma Gandhi or Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi forced him to step down in favor of Nehru and made Nehru the prime minister. He is a great man. Second coconut, if we have to break, it must be for Clement Attlee, Lord Clement Attlee. Now you see this picture. This is the picture I think we should all put in our when before unfurling our flag below that. Not Gandhi's. This is the picture in my humble opinion. The left side is Harry Truman and the right side is Lord Clement Attlee with their aides. I don't know whether it is White House or 10 Downing Street, but they are the two people who are instrumental in getting granting India independence to India. We cannot. I don't know how we are doing it, but we are doing it. Led by Nehru and company in the 1947 onwards, we never thought of them. We never thanked them, though they were the instrumental. Without them, we would not have got independence. And now, can you identify this man? No, he is not Sean Connery. He is not James Bond actor, nor he is not a movie actor. He is another person instrumental making a supreme sacrifice for Indian independence. Okay, I'll show you another picture. I'm sure most of you would now recognize him. He is Lord Louis Mountbatten of Burma. He had the supreme commander for the eastern sector, especially in India. He did not see much war, but he is a naval commander and he held a fort in Burma. That's why he is called as the Louis Mountbatten of Burma. When he landed in India in June, early June of 1947, he declared his objective was to give independence to India and then leave. He did not come to rule India but to liberate India. That was his statement at the gateway of India in Bombay in 1947. You can read about it. Great man. And this lady's contribution cannot be overrated. But for this lady, I am sure the people would have been still squabbling. Who is she? Maybe you have not recognized. Seeing this picture, you should recognize. Do you? I'll tell. She is Lady Edwina Mountbatten, wife of Lord Mountbatten. I'm sure all of you by now know from the book of Eva Mottai that Nehru, Jinnah, and Sheikh Abdullah were all the sons of the same father, Mubarak Ali, and they were squabbling in between them. There is a thinking, and I agree with that, that Jinnah and Nehru were squabbling with Pakistan issue was brought up only to retain British in India. They did not want independence. In my humble opinion, I may be wrong. You may disagree with me. I agree with your decision. And they thought if conservatives come again, the British will continue. They wanted to see the labor out. And they were scrabbling. And Gandhi was for the undivided India, and Jinnah was further divided India. Between these two, nothing was being decided. Then Lady Mountbatten stepped in. She has separated Nehru from Gandhi. Gandhi and Nehru separated on this issue. Nehru agreed for uh, division of India, and Mountbatten sidelined Gandhi and made Nehru the more important person. And with that, he submitted the June plan of India independence to the British Parliament, and Parliament passed the act. I will show you the act later. But I'm sure you should be able to recognize. He looks like an emperor, king. Yes, he is the last British emperor. Last British emperor. All the rest were kings and queens. He is the only emperor. He had the empire, last emperor, and his King George the Sixth. And he signed, his signature granted independence to India. On the right side is his coronation, and Queen Elizabeth also can be seen as the youngest of the lot with a crown. There all the crown people were all royal family. The queen's wife, she is also Queen Elizabeth. His signature gave the independence. So if we do not think of him, are we justified? I'm not sure. I think I'm not justified. And I'm sure every one of you will recognize, because in every textbook on history will contain her photograph, and she is Empress Queen Victoria. And here is the at least a statement. This is in Wikipedia. You can also read about it. And he said in February 20th February 1947, British government would grant full self-government to British India by 30th June 1948 at the latest. He made a commitment. The future of princely states would be decided after the date of transfer of power is decided. He followed it up. You know, you can read it on the Wikipedia. It is there. And here is the act. Full text I have not given. It is a big PDF. I have it. Anybody wants it can email me, or you can download it from the internet yourself. This is done in 18th July 1947 after the submission of June plan by Mountbatten with the signatures of Jinnah and Nehru. And of course, you may ask, did Gandhi take it lying down? Did Gandhi accept the division of the country? When the independence flag was unfurled by General Mountbatten, Admiral Mountbatten and Nehru, Gandhi did not attend that function. He stayed in the house. Did he agree with Nehru afterwards? Did he not create trouble? He created enormous trouble for Nehru. For the communal rights took place, he went to Calcutta, lived in the home of a Muslim person, and conducted fast until death, until Nehru came down, begged him, and got him to stop it. Then he said he forced Nehru, give 50 crores to Pakistan. He gave. Then he said he is going to Pakistan to tour Pakistan. At that time, conveniently for Nehru and his company, cabinet, he was killed in 1948, January 30th. And who killed him? It is stated as Nathuram Vinayak Godse. I have my doubts. I have my doubts. Where did Godse get the gun, pistol? And how could he shoot him? How could he get so close to Gandhiji? There are many questions, but this trial was very swift. He was not allowed to represent by any lawyer, and he was immediately hanged, so that nobody can talk about it. Vinayak Savarkar was jailed for a long time, accusing him. Gopal Godse was jailed. All these people were jailed. Nobody really asked them until they were very old. Until 1978, nobody could approach them. So Gandhi's death remains a mystery in my opinion. It was very convenient for Nehru. I am not attributing anything, but I am expressing my opinion. And this is what remained of that Akhanda Bharat. I feel like crying whenever I see this photo. We have lost so much territory to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tibet. Tibet has all been taken over by China, Nepal, Bangladesh, Burma, Malaysia, Thailand, all this because completely lost. We have become a skeleton of what we were because of whom you make your decision. So friends, I wanted to bring these few points to your notice and that we need to remember not just Gandhi Nehru, but there are others and because of whom we got the independence. Gandhi and Nehru were just happened to be there. In my humble opinion, if you disagree with me, please disagree with me, no problem, because I know there will be many disagreements. I may be criticized, I may be wrong, perhaps, because the truth only God knows. We all have our own versions and interpretations. So, friends, I request you to bear with me for bringing these facts to your notice. Bharat Mata ki Jai Ho. I wish you all very good. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः सोमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु शुभं भूयात्।